Hi, my name is Alicia Scarlett. Good day to you. I wanted to preview a content piece on Medium I wrote in this video, um, like I've done with nearly every video that I've made so far. This is the 56th. The headline is "Why Means Shows That This Organization, which I contracted with in the past, is far too unreasonable." And I'm also going to talk about other things in this video too. Um, the subhead of this article is Trump ordered the bombing of three Iranian major nuclear enrichment facilities. The organization I contracted with is Iranian-American. I also read the extended lead. Trump ordered the bombing of Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear sites, which are in Iran. It's not Iran. Working for this organization, I did learn Iran. This shows that the organization of Iranian-American communities, which I've contracted with in the past, is way too difficult to work with. Um, the OIAC seeks help from the U.S. government regarding the regime in Iran. Sorry, bad hair, Lord. The Iran nuclear deal from a Democratic administration, sanctions from a Republican administration, now the bombing from the GOP administration. Whatever it's been, the OIAC has ultimately, if not entirely, had three views: no, no, and no. The OIAC has been putting out those perspectives through its political director, Dr. Majid Sadegpour. He's a pharmacist. As Sadegpour has made clear, he and the OIAC only want the U.S. government to directly help end the current Iranian regime through direct support that he has described nebulously to Iranian citizens. I admit that it was enjoyable, even though I spent like 12 hours trying to figure out what Majid was doing billing wise one time, and it was just a little different with him, but I enjoyed it because frankly, I felt like I was engaged in Middle Eastern affairs, which basically I was, but it kind of made me feel um, like when Indiana Jones goes into the Middle East, and it's a great thing for him. That's kind of how I felt. So that's a movie, and this is reality. But I also felt kind of bad because we were benefiting financially off of. It wasn't like corrupt or anything. It's just how the cookie crumbled. But Masa Amini dies because she didn't cover her hair all the way, and then that sparked an uprising in Iran. That's uprising that's since been quelled. It lasted from September 2022 until truly until the spring 2023. And so as I was seeking out like placement media, like publications of op-eds about the uprising that Majid wrote and that I edited, I was getting paid for that. Not a lot, but I was getting paid, bottom line. And then there was people who, were actually like dying, and the resistance in Iran is there's been a resistance for decades. And for 44 years since the last 44 years, it's been 44 years since the regime did a brutal murder, and that was after the 1979 revolution in Iran. That then a tyrant organization replaced them like almost right away. So what am I getting at this and saying that? I felt bad that I was making money off of, just as it so happened, off of that resistance, and then that's part of a larger idea that I enjoyed doing that. It was very different from like supervising, case managers in Ogden, Utah, or something like that, So that was great. Or even in journalism, I'm a journalist, and you learn different things, you have different experiences. But that was, even though that was public relations, that was still one of the cooler experiences. However, I began to get concerned that they couldn't be, the OIC was reasonable, wasn't cooperative, and would really require anything, regardless of the party administration, and regardless of the party of the White House, and regardless of the regardless of what they were doing, the policy towards Iran, there wasn't going to be any. They just wanted regime change in Iran, but I realized that actually a bit after I had a content creator, when I was reaching out for the PR, and content creator said, "This is all they want. They just want total regime change, and they're going to stop at nothing else." And I actually defended myself. Didn't have to. Defended OAC. Excuse me. Didn't have to. I'm better so far at I think at writing than broadcasting. But thank you for being here. So months go by, I still defended him. And then Trump bombed Iran on Saturday night. And I looked at OIC's webpage and saw a couple weeks ago that Majid had said, well, I'll give this part to you as well from the content piece. This is his quote. The regime will not fall with bombs falling from the sky, regardless of who drops them. And so, it was, I was surprised that they were not at all enthused about Obama's nuclear deal that Biden tried to revive. I was surprised that he wasn't pleased with sanctions, other than saying, it changed, the paradigm of how you approach Iran. And then he says that about the bombing, and I'm like, yo, couldn't a regime change maybe come through bombing? I mean, Trump has posted since the bombing about a regime change, and while there's an outside chance that means more beyond the bombings, I think, and I am among half of the Republicans who, because half the Republicans, roughly half the Republican Party's against Trump doing this. I definitely agree. I definitely am against it too. But for an organization that wants regime change, you would think that bombing Iran is something they'd applaud. No. And so now I realize I worked for or contracted with an extremely just non-negotiable organization. I've since realized that their whole Republican-Democrat thing and whatever party, whatever the from, doesn't so much matter, because in Iranian politics, you're dealing with a theocracy, and so it's different. I also wonder if that's also part of the problem, because we're trying to apply democratic republic politics to a theocratic political situation. Now, what's going on in Iran and the tyranny that they've endured for I don't even know how long, honestly. A new one since 79, and then before 79, I don't know. But it's a long, long time. It's the Middle East. This is Iran's a great example of the Middle East and how there's just so much violence. And I'm not going to go so far as to say there's a woman I met since I moved to LA 2 years ago who's Iran's just this way, and they got a new regime, a new dictatorship right after they toppled the other one in 79 because they're cursed by God. I'm not going to go that far, but they have centuries and centuries. I know that's at least the conflict between some Middle Eastern countries goes back more than 1,000 years. Longer than the Jedi Knights or Guardians of the Old Republic. Again, I know that's fictional and the other isn't, but these are serious things. Got to joke sometimes. So these plagues in the Middle East, literal or figurative, are ancient. And so, yeah, Majid, and I'll tip off a little bit more of this content piece. Majid says they want. Here we go. This is the nebulous part I meant. America must dispense with the most powerful weapons it has at its disposal, which is its moral authority, which is in its democracy. That we must dispense with, and we must afford the Iranian people that. What the hell does that mean? Like, assuming the U.S. even has that much moral authority in the rest of the world, because of the behavior and actions by Trump. What does that mean? Like, he doesn't talk. He talks about. Majid meeting has talked about, like, there's a resolution in the House that says the U.S. supports the Iranian people having a secular, democratic, non-nuclear Iran. But even that, like, that doesn't say the resolution, and there's another resolution too, but these resolutions are very vague. They don't talk about how you, like, it just seems kind of magical to me to think that the moral authority of the U.S., if indeed it's still there, and the democracy of the United States somehow just going to, like, magically go in. But the Majid and the OIAC are saying topple Iran's regime, and they say a specific way that it has to be done, and that's by directly supporting the American people through this nebulous general way of dispensing its moral authority and democracy. This just their demands are too high, they're too specific, and then they become too generic / vague / nebulous, and it's just like, I don't know what. I just was really stunned, happy that I saw that video where he says that even nuclear bombs won't do it, but stunned when I read that. The whole, so much of society is going crazy about all of America. I know there's some goonballs in America who don't care about anything that happens, but, pretty much all of America's freaking out and has an opinion, and it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal for an American president to bomb Iran. And he's saying that's not going to be enough. We don't. So. This is the content piece. I appreciate your time. If you were to Google, like, Alicia Scarlett Medium, and then, like, click on the Medium author page as of 6:08 p.m. Pacific, June 23rd, Monday, it's the top article on my author page. I felt like I wanted to add something else, but the biggest ideas are out there now. So have a great day, and thank you for watching.